Hey, welcome back to Max Nave Horsemanship and Baby Steps. And yeah, we got a baby over here we're going to work with in a minute. And actually, if you stick with me, watch through to the end of this one, I'm going to try and show you something new. Now, due to the fact it's a little bit windy, might not work real good. In fact, it might not work at all, but we're going to give it a try anyhow. Because, well, waiting for a nice day around here, that just doesn't really make sense. Now, I don't know. I just noticed that the one section of panel is pushed in a bit on the round pan. I might have to tend to that in a second, just to make it a little more round. Whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It still serves its purpose regardless. We've talked about that before. But I want to talk about a couple of other things that we've actually done, and how they relate to some common phrases you're going to hear from good horsemen. But they word things a little differently. Well, it sounds a lot different because one of the very common things that you're going to hear is you get to the brain through the feet. Now, that's kind of backwards actually, because the brain controls the feet. The message doesn't go the other way. Well, okay, no, I'm not going to get into details, but the principle is actually half right, because it's much like a recent video I did where I talked about making them move and how that establishes you in the hierarchy with the horse because you made them move. Well, I think that is, even though the way they word it, it really makes it confusing, is when they say move the feet to get to the mind, well, that's, in a way, that's what you're doing, because pretty much the entire body is supported by the feet. So if you can move the feet, you're moving the whole body. If you're moving the whole body, it's having an effect on the mind. And, well, ideally, you want to go directly to the mind because the mind controls everything, the entire body, feet and all. And sometimes, as in a recent video I did, in fact, the last one I did, where I was flexing the horse, you don't want the feet moving. You want the feet to stay still. You only want the head to move. And so that's a whole different idea, but in the process of what you're doing, you're trying to communicate with the brain, because the brain is ultimately, well, that's the thing you want to make friends with, so that you can have a good relationship with your horse. And like I said, the brain controls the entire body from one end to the other. On a horse, most of what goes on has got to do with the feet, because it's got four of them holding up the entire body. So if the feet do something, the whole body's doing something. So brain, feet, yeah, well, there's connection there. There is connection. But don't be confused by moving the feet to get to the brain. That's not quite how it works, but it's close. It's close. But I don't want you being confused by that when you hear guys, because a lot of guys say that. I've heard it quite a few times. You know, move the feet to get to the brain. Use the feet to get to the brain, or whatever. And, well, I still believe, and I did a video years ago on it, is my philosophy of training is you get to the brain because the brain controls everything. It controls how fast the horse moves, what direction it moves. Absolutely everything the horse does is controlled by the brain. The brain's what you want to make friends with, not the feet. I could care less about the feet, as long as they don't step on me. That would be uncomfortable. Anyhow, so I wanted to clear that up a little bit. Yeah, it's probably still pretty muddy. I don't think I did a real good job clearing that one up, because it's one of those things. It's a little confusing, and it's kind of right, but it's backwards at the same time, and it can be real confusing, because yeah, you do have to move the horse. I agree with that completely, but using the feet to get to the brain, that's backwards, even though that is in a way what you're doing. So anyhow, so don't let stuff like that confuse you. You know, it sounds weird. It's kind of backwards and whatever. So, but there's something else I want to talk about, and it is part of the theme of what I've said many times, is go slow. Take your time, go slow. And I've heard several good horsemen, and I mean very good ones, say that the slow way is the fast way, or something along those lines. And it doesn't always sound like it makes sense, but if you think about it, it does, because You might spend a half an hour or an hour, well, even a couple days fixing a problem to get it to a point where it's, not bad. And yet, if you don't address it, you're going to be dealing with that problem for years. Which one takes longer? So the slow way is the fast way. That's where that comes from, is you take your time, and that goes along with something else I've been asked a couple times is, why are the horses around me always so calm? Well, it's got to do with the way we do things. By going slow, we don't stress the horses. They don't get upset. They stay calm. I mean, they're not interested in being wound up. They'd rather be calm. That's their natural state, actually. So we want to maintain that. And that's what we try to do. And we do that by going slow. Okay, the horses stay calm by going slow. We don't push the horse to meltdown. Okay, you don't want to do that. And I've talked about that one before too. And these are all things, I'm just giving you refreshers on this stuff, is when the horse gets to the point where it's having a bit of a meltdown and getting all freaked out about stuff, it's not learning anymore and you're wasting your time. Okay, and you got to take a step back, cool off for a bit, let the horse relax, calm down, and then proceed again. And maybe not with the same thing, maybe something different, something the horse is pretty good at or understands a little better. Something that isn't going to get it all worked up. Something that it can do that it knows how to do, and then it goes, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And that actually helps calm the horse down if it does something it knows. And then you can move on, once you got the horse mellowed out again, then you can move on to doing something new that the horse hasn't done before, that was whatever it was that caused the horse to melt down in the first place. Because that's not a state you want the horse in. It doesn't learn when it's at that state, because at that point it has gone to its instinctual survival mode. All it wants to do is stay alive and survive, and it is not learning. Okay, you want a horse that is learning. That is the important thing, is you want a horse that thinks, not just reacts. And that's why we're doing a lot of the stuff that we're doing. And well, that's why you're going to go slow. Okay, so the horse stays calm and it relaxes and it learns. Take your time. In the long run, it's much faster. Trust me. So now I want to demonstrate something that unfortunately the wind isn't going to help with. And this might not even be the right horse to be doing this with, because she's very reactive to a lot of things still anyhow. She needs a lot of desensitizing, and this is not one of those things that I should probably be doing with her, but I'm going to do it with her just because she's here and I can demonstrate with her what we do and how we do it, kind of thing. And I'm going to show you what I'm using. Again, my training tools are stuff that's laying around. You don't need to go out and spend money, okay? My little stick that you've seen me use before, that used to be a lunge whip, that had no string on it, and I just chopped it down, made it a little shorter. Well, today it has one of these little plastic grocery bags on the end of it. And I have it fastened on by a little bit of duct tape is what happened to be laying around, so that's what I used. You can use anything, it doesn't really matter. Duct tape, electrical tape, scotch tape, whatever. Tape it on there, Gorilla tape. That stuff, boy, that stuff works good. Anyhow, but if you're going to do this, and which I hope you will eventually, cut the bottom end open like this. Because if you don't open up the bottom end of it, the air goes in one end and it kind of catches, it balloons out, and yeah, it causes problems. So I'm going to go get that little horse, and let's see, the wind's going that way, okay, or is it? It doesn't know what direction it wants to go. It's kind of going in circles. Does that mean, no funnel cloud. Okay, it's going that way. Oh, it's going that way, okay. Not quite the direction I thought it was going. Close. Okay, so that in mind, and that's one of the things when you're doing anything, think ahead, and well, we have to, because it's always breezy around here. If I'm going to work with anything that can be affected by the wind, I have to be conscious of what direction the wind's going. And so I'm going to check before I even go get the horse, the wind's going that way, okay? And after I go get the horse, I'm going to check again just to make sure it hasn't changed, because things can change, trust me. So just give me a minute. I'm going to go get the horse and see what we can do here. Okay, I'm back with a horse. And I hope this works out well, because I'm not sure, because, well, I haven't done it with either of the horses actually. And this one is actually much more reactive to things and requires a lot more desensitizing. So this might actually, might get a fair bit of a reaction from her. But okay, we got our stick, we got a bag on the end of it. And it's blowing. And these things make noise. Close to my mic, you can hear it. And of course, in the wind, lots of motion. So it's kind of got a twofold thing to it. And this is just your garden variety grocery bag. They're very common. Becoming a little less common these days. Environmentally friendly people think that you shouldn't use these things. I don't know. I don't care. We didn't used to have them, but there's still lots of them around. There probably will be for quite a while yet, even though most stores aren't using them. And it's not really about the plastic bag anyhow, but for some strange reason, horses are particularly terrified of these things. And it's not unusual for one to go blowing past you as you're riding along. And, well, even if it's not one of these things, it could be something else similar. And that's one of the reasons, like I said, when you're desensitizing, it's not about the individual items, it's about everything that's similar. Well, same with this one too, because this can be similar to the tarp because of the noise and movement. It can also be similar to your flag, and either one of those can be similar to something else. Who knows? So that is one of the reasons we're using this thing. It can be similar to things. And occasionally, you might actually incur one of these. And just to share a short little story on the subject, directly related, there was one day, not terribly long ago, a place I was at, I happened to look over, and all of a sudden I saw several horses go running past in an area that they don't usually run around in or are particularly active. Well, I looked and I thought, that's strange, but I couldn't really see everything that was going on because there was this wall of bales in the way that inhibited my view. But shortly after the horses went running past, well, when I'm kind of puzzled, then all of a sudden I see one of these groceries bags go blowing by. Well, that one little bitty bag blowing in the wind got all those horses wound up. So this is why you want to do this stuff. And like I said, it's not necessarily about the bag, but it could be. But it's about somebody's wrapper off their treat or their new iPhone, or I don't know what. Could be all kinds of stuff blowing around that gets them worried. And here's one of the ways we're doing it. And today, because it's a little breezy and the wind is going that way, I'm going to work on this side of the horse because I want to have a little control over it. I don't want it to suddenly blow in the wind and slap her in the face. That could get her really excited. Now I'm slowly shortening up the lead and getting it closer to her. And so far it's not bothering her yet. And, oh, she just touched it. Now this was something I was going to work up to. I didn't have to. She volunteered this behavior. Now this goes very similar to what we did with the tarp. Remember what we did with the tarp where I had it all in a little bundle and I held it up to the horse, and when the horse touched it, I took it away because the horse has control. They like that. Well, that's exactly what she just did. Now, obviously, if she touched it, there she did it again. She definitely turned her head to it and touched it. I didn't do that. I had no control over that. I just held it over here, and then she turned her head and touched it, and I moved it away. That's what you're going to do. Now, not all horses are going to do this. They're not all going to want to touch it like that. Some of them are going to get really worked up. But this is one of those things, and they might still work for you, but you might be standing there with holding it in front of the horse for quite some time. And, oh, she's really curious about this thing. There. She even took a step towards it. This is marvelous. Because, these are the kind of things that, okay, I waved it, the movement and sound made her jump. She wasn't expecting that. It's okay. That's good. But, oh, see, she's still not afraid of it, though. She still touched it. So the way you're going to approach this is going to be very similar to, like I said, your flag or anything else you're desensitizing to, the tarp, stuff like that. The approach is very similar. Don't overload the horse. Don't force it on them. You know, present it in a fashion that they can handle. Let it get gradually closer and closer, and then, well, in this case, she's going to get closer to it and touch it. He actually took a step towards it and then touched it with her nose. Brilliant. This is actually going quite well. I'm actually pretty happy about this. I thought she'd be a little more reactive to this because there's so many other things she is reactive to. Because if I waved a flag like this, she'd be pretty darn worried. But when I wave this thing, she's not. I don't understand. But, well, there you go. So another perfect example of the reaction you get from your horse from one thing. Well, when you move on to something else, that even though it seems to be similar, you might get a completely different reaction. So, like, she's not concerned at all. She's more interested in grazing, which I'm not going to let her do. I want her to pay attention. Yes, it's a good girl. And I'm not being mean to her, and as you can see, no ill will. She doesn't take offense to this stuff. I told you this before. Don't be afraid to correct your horse. It's not going to be offended. It's just going to learn the rules. And it's, as far as that horse is concerned, it's just information. You know, they don't take anything personal. That's one of the beautiful things about horses. I've mentioned that before, is they just don't take stuff personal. They don't take offense to things. And it makes it much easier to work with them if you don't have that thought in mind that, oh, I'm going to offend my horse. No, you're not going to offend your horse. Do what you have to do. If you have to correct the horse, you correct the horse. And you're not going to offend it. So, I don't know, this actually went way quicker than I expected. I'm really surprised. I'm just going to bring this over again. It's actually, there, she touched it again. Oh, this is marvelous how this is working. And again, this is a tool. The bag itself was, well, it was free at the time. I think you have to pay for them now, if you can still get them. And it was basically destined for garbage. I have a pile of them I saved. I've still got around. But I cut the bottom out of it, and then just a piece of tape. Tie it on, tape it onto a stick of any kind. I don't care what you're using. Tape it on anything you want. Doesn't matter. This whole setup here, free. Didn't cost me anything. Oh, okay, maybe it cost me 10 cents worth of tape, I think. And, well, if I don't use that tape for something, it's going to age, and eventually it's going to be no darn good for anything anyhow if I keep it around too long. So I got to use it up eventually. So let's just see. We'll bring it over a little closer. And see, oh, she kind of turned her head to it, but the wind actually blew it away from her at the time. See, this is where windy days are a bit of a problem. You saw her jerk her head back because the wind suddenly made it flap, and it bopped her in the nose. Not exactly what you want. And I'm just going to step back a little so I don't disturb the wind as much. There we go, she touched it again. Excellent. And you just keep repeating that process. Do it over and over and over and over and over and over. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing too. We're going to go do it over and over and over. And something like this can actually be used similar to a flag too. A stick with something taped onto the end of it. This could be a flag. I could use this as a flag if I wanted to. I'm sure that if I needed to, I could yeah, I get a reaction from her. No, you go that way. There we go. Well, there you go. You got to be careful though, because some horses will really, really react to one of these things. But again, you can use this as a flag, or similar to a flag. And again, what did it cost me, or what will it cost you? You know, some kind of stick, maybe an old fishing pole with no reel, and maybe one of the loops is broke off. So just take the rest of them off, and they usually have a pretty nice handle on them, and about this length, and maybe a little longer. You can cut it down if you want. It doesn't matter. Make it work for you. And if it's a piece of junk that's going to get thrown out anyhow, there you go. You got a tool that you can use for free. You don't have to go down to your local store, you know, and spend. Oh, let's see, what are the flags going for around here nowadays? I think they're like about $46. I don't know. Way too much. Way too much. I happened to buy mine at a store. Yes, I did. So I also made one once too, but that particular one I bought, I think I may have mentioned this, I bought it when they first introduced them, first store in town to sell them. They bought a couple and brought them in just as a test to see if they'd even sell. And I happened to be there when they happened to show up. Got a really good deal on it because they weren't real expensive. Well, they discovered how popular they were and they got them again and the prices went up significantly, unfortunately. So I would never go buy another one. No way. Not the prices they're asking for them now. I'd probably make something like this for free and it would do the job because that's how it works. I mean, I could, instead of a piece of bag, I could tape a rag onto there or something if I wanted it more like a flag. Doesn't really matter, whatever you use, and if the tape eventually lets go or something, well, put another piece on. Who cares? It doesn't have to be exact. She's curious about this thing. Yep, there you go. She's making it go away. So that's how you desensitize, and we're going to keep doing that. So I just thought I'd share that one with you. Is basically one of the last things. The only thing now that you haven't seen with this particular horse, actually I haven't shown you her side passing towards me. I'll have to take the bag off the stick for that because I use this stick. And you haven't seen her trailering yet. That's about it. Those are the only new things that you have yet to see. And that little paint, I haven't used this on her yet. And that's funny. Now I'm guessing that she's going to react like crazy to this thing because it seems that no matter what I expect, it's always something different with these two characters. And even though this one here is quite reactive to a lot of stuff, apparently not to this. I don't understand, right? But that's why all your logic and common sense that you might have, just take it and throw it out the window and just go with whatever you see today in front of you and what actually does happen. And that'll be the tell. Is when you see what the horse presents you with, well, there you go. That's what you got. Is what the horse presents you with, and it may be quite different than what you're expecting or you're prepared for. So anyhow, so that's our little tip for the day. Is so pretty much the last thing for this horse. We will do this again with the other horse, and in fact, I might, while I've got this taped up here on here so I can use it, I might just do it today. So right after this one, you might just see the other horse in here, and we might just use it on her, and then you can kind of compare the two as well. And I don't know if they're going to be the same or different. I have no idea, because this one is not what I was expecting at all. And quite happy with how she behaved and how she reacted to it. She did quite well. Oh, and if you see a lot of things flying around, it's mosquitoes. Yeah, we got lots of mosquitoes around here. They get pretty annoying sometimes, and that's why I don't mind days that are a little breezy, because they keep the bugs away a little bit. And well, that's also where wearing long sleeves is not a bad thing either, because they generally can't bite through this. So I'm quite happy when it's not super hot, because then I can wear a couple extra layers, and if I got a long sleeve underneath a long sleeve, ain't no way they're biting through that. So that's something you can do too if you're in a climate that allows you to do that. And the difference between a long sleeve shirt and a short sleeve, I've mentioned this before, isn't great. So don't hesitate to wear a long sleeve shirt. It might make your life a lot easier. Excuse me, dear. No grazing. You're paying attention. Yes. Good little horse. So anyhow, that's that for this one. And well, I think I'll join up with you again when I bring the other one in. That's over there right now out in the pasture, grazing away. And it's really strange. They've changed which one they like hanging around with now. They're not hanging around with the big gelding anymore. They're hanging around with my mare now. I don't get it. Oh well. Horses are, herds are dynamic. This is a small herd. There's not very many here, but things are always changing. And I noticed that when I was at a boarding facility where there was quite a few horses, and they're always coming and going. That's the nature of the business. And it was always very interesting to see the changes in the dynamics in the herd and the hierarchy when different ones come and go. It's always really interesting. It's something fascinating that if you get the opportunity to watch that stuff, do so. It can be quite educational, and certainly opened my eyes to some things too, because I noticed the hierarchy doesn't always work the way you think it does too. And well, what the heck, I may as well briefly touch on that one too, because that was really interesting. Is with humans, hierarchy it's pretty much what we refer to as linear, straight line, bottom to top. You know, you got the guy down in the mailroom, and you got the CEO of the company, and all the people in between, and everybody has their position, and in society or whatever, you know, everybody, things are pretty straight line. It doesn't work that way with horses. It can be circular. And I didn't realize that. And the first time I observed it, I thought, I'm missing something. I thought it was weird. It didn't make sense. I was sure I was missing something. And then I read an article about it, and they talked about this circular hierarchy in horses. It's not linear, not a straight line. And I thought, well, that's weird, but it does kind of explain what I saw. And I do believe it was right after I read that article, the very next day, I saw it. I saw 3 horses around a round bale feeder eating. And as horses tend to do occasionally, they move a little and will bump one of the other horses over or whatever. So horse A moves, makes horse B move. Okay, that's number 1, that's number 2. Well, then horse B moves and makes horse C move. And so I'm thinking, okay, 1, 2, 3, simple. That's the hierarchy. That's the order. But then I saw number 3 move number 1. They were all just kept shoveling over and around this thing. So literally it was a circle. But it just, when I saw number 3 move number 1, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, number 1 moved number 2, which moved number 3. Number 3 shouldn't be able to move number 1. But that's not the way it works in the horse world. It's not a straight line like it is in the human world. It's circular. Sometimes, not always, it can be fairly straight line. And around here, with these horses, aren't that many. And this one is number 2 when she's hanging out with her big buddy, because she's got backup. But when she's off by herself, she's number 3. And that little paint is number 2. She will actually give this one a whooping if she needs it or thinks she does. So it's dynamic, it's always changing, and it doesn't always make sense. And then today I came out, and horses generally like to congregate in groups. That's the normal thing for horses to do. And that's why you'll hear the saying that horses are like Pringles, you can't have one. Well, there's some truth to that. You shouldn't have one. If you have one horse, I would encourage you to either get a second horse, just as a companion, if nothing else, or get one of your friends to board their horses at your place, something like that. No horse should be alone. Horses should not be singular. When I first got here with my horse, the big gelding was alone, but well, he had cattle, so he wasn't entirely alone. And to this day, he actually still likes cattle because the neighbors have some on their side of the fence. And it's not unusual to see him hanging out near the fence where the herd of cattle are. So he still likes cattle. But horses like to congregate. You need to have at least 2. So if you only own one, most people just realistically, you can only ride one at a time anyhow. Don't need more than one horse. So if you're going to buy a second horse, it doesn't necessarily have to be a riding horse. Sometimes that comes in handy if they're both rideable, because sometimes maybe one will be lame or sick or whatever, can't be ridden. It doesn't hurt to have a second one if you really like to ride all the time. If you don't care about that stuff, a companion horse that isn't even rideable can quite often be obtained pretty cheap, if not for free. And then all you got to do is deal with the day-to-day keep of the horse and that sort of thing. Or, like I said, if you can get your friend to board their horse at your place, your horse has a friend and you actually have an income, as long as you charge just slightly more than what it costs you to keep the horse. So that's my little thing for the day on that issue. But yeah, I thought it was kind of strange today, though, when and even right now, he's not right with the other horses. He's usually not that far away from them. In the grand scheme of things, he's not horribly far away, but usually he's closer than that. And when I first came out here, he was actually quite a ways away from the other 3 horses. I thought that was odd, but hey, that's what happens. So I'm going to go play with this one a little bit, do a few things. I don't know what just yet, but it'll probably be stuff you've seen me do already, and we're going to do again. And then I'm going to bring back when we bring the paint in here, and I'm going to use this thing again on her and see what kind of reaction we get. Maybe a good one, maybe a bad one. We'll see. This one actually proved to be much better than I expected, and I was really hoping I could show you this today, because it is kind of a cool tool that you can make for nothing, and it is helpful because if there's a bag blowing in the wind or debris blowing around in the wind, whatever, similar to this, it's really nice if your horse isn't going to have a meltdown. So it never hurts to see. If nothing else, we're going to, at least now we know, at least now we know what kind of reaction to expect from her when it comes to this. So not much, apparently. Okay, I'm going to turn this off, and we'll get back to you in a minute. Well, I said before that right from the beginning that I was going to include you in all of the firsts. And at first with Jackie with the bag on a stick worked quite well. I was actually quite surprised. Well, let's see how it works with this one. And let's start with, is she going to touch it? She's kind of curious about this thing. Now, it's one of those things that you got to be kind of careful. I'm going to try and hold it in such a position that she can touch the tip of the stick, basically. And if the bag's swinging around a little, it's not going to get her. And this might take a little while. Now, she was slightly curious about it in the first place, but seems to have lost interest pretty quick, or maybe she's just that wary of it. I'm not quite sure which. But we're using the same principle that we used with a few other things, including the tarp with her. It's exactly what we did. We haven't actually even used that approach with the tarp with the other horse yet, so that's actually one more first. Oh, there we go. She's getting curious. She's looking at it, and she touched it. Not much. She touched it. So we're going to keep doing this. Now, hopefully your horse by this point, and that's why you don't get in a big hurry to do some of this stuff, because some horses get just absolutely freaked out by these things. I don't understand why. It's a combination of the noise and the movement that they make. Some horses get pretty upset with these things. So don't get in a big hurry. Wait until your relationship is quite established with your horse and it trusts you that you're not going to do something stupid. And of course today we got other issues happening too. On the bright side, she doesn't seem to be horribly concerned about it, even when it blows around. Okay, she touched it again. We make it go away. This is the same thing that we've been doing in the past with her. And now I've spent enough time with this horse that I think that helps a lot. And I think that would help with any horse, is the more time you've spent with the horse, the better it gets to know you and the more it trusts you. So when you do introduce something new, potentially scary, doesn't get too concerned about it. So I'm just going to step back over here this way, just because of the direction the wind's going. I want to try and angle around a little bit here so that the wind is in our favor, because we don't want the wind to catch this thing and slap her in the face. And she's actually not too terribly concerned about the thing. Now there's a lot of bugs today, so if you see her kicking and tail swishing and shaking head, that's where, and there we go. and it went away again. She didn't touch it much, but she did touch it. That's anything is in the right direction. Boy, the mosquitoes are just horrible out here today. I hope this isn't an indication of what's to come this summer. We did just recently have a fair bit of rain. That usually triggers it, because any place that was dry, mosquito eggs can last for up to, I think, 7 years or something. And then if all of a sudden you get some rain in an area that's never been wet before, they hatch. So all these mosquitoes we're seeing could be the result of 7-year-old eggs that, well, decided to hatch because of all the rain we had recently. Oh well. So I did do a fair bit with the other one with the camera off. So you do a little more than you see, because, well, what I am doing though was repetition. It was all stuff that you have seen before with both of these horses. Like I said, there's very, very little left to show you. And this being one of the few things. And there we go, she touched it again. Very good. Oh, she's getting really brave now. You want to see this thing again? Really? There we go, she touched it again. My goodness. Well, that's kind of good. And there she touched it again. Oh, okay. The bag itself she's not scared of. Now, was that the noise or the movement? We don't know. I don't know. Got her a little concerned though. So we're going to do this like anything else we're desensitizing to. We're going to gradually get it closer to her and kind of find her limit, what she can handle. And I'm going to stop shaking it around, stop making noise with it, and see if she gets curious again. I'm just experimenting here as we go. And that's, I did a video on the subject quite a while back on how a good horseman is essentially an experimenter. And that is largely true, because you're always trying out new things and mixing and matching techniques and methods to figure out what's going to work for the horse you're working with. There's always a unknown factor there. And there she goes. So she's not horribly concerned about this thing, but it doesn't seem to be the movement so much, but I don't think she likes the noise that much. I get more of a reaction when I make noise with it than if I move it. Although she doesn't care much for either one, but you combine the two. Oh, she's getting better though. So I can get closer to her with it. What a good girl. You want to touch this again? She's wary of it. Look at her backing off from it. And I let her do this because, you know, we're not trying to force anything on her. Got a slack lead. And then she can reapproach it again as she feels comfortable. And this is the easiest way to do things, rather than trying to figure out what does and doesn't work for the horse. Let the horse do it. You know, she'll figure out what works. I don't have to. I just stand here at relatively the same spot and just experiment a little with the different movements and sounds and such, and see what does and doesn't work. And you know, with this thing, I can move it slightly closer to the horse and see if it has her concerned. Oh, she's wary of it. Yep, she's kind of looking at it out the corner of her eye. Ooh, she bumped it with her nose. I don't know if she actually meant to do that or not. But, you know, like I said, I did a video a while back. I said, good horsemen are largely experimenters. And that wasn't just my own opinion either. I was actually watching somebody else, a very good horseman. I can't remember where he was, Australia, New Zealand. No, I think he was in New Zealand. And he said something very similar to that too, that, you know, we're always trying new stuff. My own horses, unfortunately, have been guinea pigs for many of my experiments to see what does and doesn't work. And if you do screw up, it's not a tragedy because, things can be fixed. You know, I've made mistakes. Let me tell you, I have made mistakes. But if you don't make mistakes, you're not trying. So don't be scared to make mistakes. You don't guarantee if you're trying, you're going to make mistakes. If you don't try, you won't make mistakes. And the problem will be that you're not trying. And you don't get anywhere that way. Okay. That was close enough. It was whapping around there. I didn't want to get too close with it. I'll call that she touched it. She didn't actually make contact with it that time, but she did move towards it, and that was good enough. And there, she did touch it that time. Very good girl. So this is how you do it, sort of, kind of. Make it up as you go. Figure it out. And it's like the flag or the lunge whip. It's one of those things that you can start moving it around and then gradually move it more and more and more, and gradually get it closer to the horse, and eventually you can touch the horse with it. Now she's twitching pretty hard there when I do that, which means she's not real comfortable with it. See, she's doing it there too. She's not super comfortable with it, but we got there. Now we're not going to, because that, now she moved back in again. She's not horribly concerned about it, which is a good indicator, watching what she's doing, because like I said, I'm letting her control this. She's controlling what it does and where it goes and where she goes in relation to it. Oops. Goodness. Poor thing, she's trying to get at the flies and mosquitoes and all the stuff. And when she swings her head around, yanks a lead right out of my hand because I don't hold on particularly tight. A lot of times it's just laying over one finger. Because you shouldn't have to hold on real tight. Because, well, this should be what it takes to keep your horse where you want it. If it requires a lot more than that, you better back up a long ways and start over at the very beginning and build a relationship with the horse where it trusts you enough that you can do that. Because I'm nobody special. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just taking my time, going slow, and I end up with a horse, nice calm horse that trusts me. That's what you want. Nice calm horse that trusts you. And that's basically what we're doing now. I'm going to try and get a little closer to her here with this flag, or bag, whatever the heck this thing is. Very good girl. She's very sensitive to the lead. She moves off the field real good sometimes. Now, because I'm so close to her, I'm very careful where this bag is. It's behind me right now, and I'm going to be careful when I touch her with it, because I don't want her having a meltdown if she's really close to me. So I'm going to keep it over on this side, so if she does anything, she's going to jump away from me. There we go. Very slowly introduce it to her. And she still keeps coming over here, even though I'm touching her with the bag. Good little horsey. There we go. There we go. Wow, this is going very well. I'm actually quite impressed. Most horses just have a meltdown with these things for reasons I don't know. I mentioned that earlier with the other horse. But this one is actually doing quite well. She's twitching a little when I touch her with it, but that could be kind of a natural thing that, even a bug landing on her, she'd twitch for that. I don't know. It may have nothing to do with this bag. Gotcha. Ooh, that was a bad one. Mosquito full of blood on white. Sure shows up. And of course, she's a little concerned about, because I'm swatting mosquitoes and got this stupid bag in my hand at the same time, and it's like, yeah, she's not sure what's up here. A bit me doing weird stuff. And I'll see if we can do it again. Not bad at all. Very good. Very good. She didn't move at all that time. Oh, very good. Still got a little bit of that twitch thing happening, but I'm not sure that's really because she's all that concerned about it. And then periodically I'm going to wave it around a little. Just, judge her reaction to it, stuff like that. And then gradually get closer and closer to it again. And then gradually touch her with it. Just slowly bring it in slow. Don't swing it at her like you're about to hit her with it. And then just rub her. The stick is actually what she's feeling more than the bag. Because this bag is, well, the stick is stiff and the bag is not. Simple as that. Good little horse. Yes, you are. So, as far as the desensitizing goes, this would probably be the very last step, is something this radical, something that most horses absolutely hate. And this is how you'd go about it. Much like anything else, just a little bit at a time. Don't exceed what the horse can handle. Gradually get closer, touch her with it, blah, blah. You'll figure it out. And just remember, don't hang on too tight to the lead. And if the horse starts saying, hey, I want away from that thing, let it. Get away from it. Let the horse get away from it. Hold it. Hold the bag on the stick as far away from the horse as possible. Keep a good distance if the horse is getting worried. And always keep a loose lead like this. So if she wants to, if she gets concerned enough, or him, whatever you got, and they want to move away a little bit, they can. Don't ever force anything on them. Don't restrict their movement. Let them be in control of the situation a little more. And I mean, ultimately you want to be the one in control of things, but for the first while during training, you want the horse to feel a little more in control of things. It feels much more comfortable with stuff that way. Yeah, they don't get all stressed out over things if they feel that they have at least a little bit of control. So anyhow, well, until I get that other one in the trailer, there isn't going to be anything new to show you because we've pretty much run out of things to do. Well, I could maybe introduce the tarp to that other one. Well, in a different way. She's walked on it and jumped over it and everything else already. So that part is good. The only thing you'll have to do is fold it up and touch her with it and let her sniff at it, things like that. That area, that part of it, you haven't seen yet, how she's going to react to that. And honestly, I don't know either. Both of these, I'm actually quite surprised how they've reacted to this thing, because especially that other one, she's highly reactive to certain things. I thought she'd be bothered by it. This one doesn't like plastic floating around. There's some plastic over by the chicken coop. When it flaps in the wind, she hates that stuff. So I fully expected her to not like this thing. Seriously, not like it. But anyhow, well, it turns out, no, maybe it's in here. Maybe it's because we're in here that she figures she's safe in here because she's with me. And this is a safe place. Nothing bad happens in here. And that's one of those things. I did a video a while back on the round pen. And I said, how does your horse like the round pen? And the tell is when you open that gate over there, how fast they go shooting out the gate. If they're not in a big hurry to leave, well, you're probably doing things okay. And I think today was a pretty good indicator of that. Is I opened that gate to put the other one out. And instead of that one going out, this one came in. And I had two of them in here. They wanted to be here. So I didn't have a halter or lead on either one of them. I just opened the gate, and before the one could go out, the other one said, oh, I'd like to come in, and then she came. So that's what happened. So there. Anyhow, I will be back again another day to show you some more. And man, I can't really think of anything new that we can do right now. If we were actually going to be riding them anytime soon, there's a few more things I'd like to do, but it's going to be a long time off before they get ridden. So I don't think we're going to do that. And I don't think they're quite big enough for what I'd like to do, which includes putting a little weight on them and stuff like that. So I think for now, that's just about it for new things until we trailer load that little bay. You'll get to see that one, because that one I think is going to be interesting, because she doesn't like that trailer at all. At least not yet. Maybe by the time we actually put her in it, she'll be a little more accepting of it. And that's why you do things in order, because one thing leads up to another. And if we get her cool enough with everything else we're doing with her, then the trailer will be just, one more thing, no big deal, and in she goes. At least that's what we're hoping for, because right now, just for the fun of it, twice now, I've opened up the back door and tried leading her up to it. At least now she'll let me lead her up to the back of the trailer. The first time I opened that door, she didn't want to go anywhere near the thing. But even now, she's a little hesitant, but I can at least get her to lead up to the back of the trailer. So I don't know how that's going to work, but you're going to get to see it. And that will be probably the last new thing that you're going to get to see, at least with these two. Other than that, I don't know. So I guess that will probably be the end of this series, once there's no more new things to show you. Because, okay, I could show you, the folding up the tarp and touching her with it. I could show you that. And I can show you trailering her. But other than that, there's nothing left new to show you. This one here, you've seen absolutely everything with this one. You've seen her go in the trailer. And this was the very last desensitizing thing. We're still going to do a few more other things, like with the rope and the flag and all that good stuff. But like I said, that's all repetition. I'm not going to bore you with it. So until we come up with something else to show you or talk about, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.